I'm Tandy Gutierrez, and this is our weekly Wenomadwehappy.com vlog. So for the last 28 weeks, I've been doing these vlogs, and sometimes inviting the boys into them. And we talked about it and felt like it would probably be the nicest, bestest thing that we could do to have Papa Bear here too.
Yay!
So clearly I like being in front of the camera, and the boys are like, whatever, we're sitting in front of a camera. But it is a family adventure for these 12 months and perhaps longer. So it only feels right that we should all share what we're learning every week in the mix, because it's different for all of us and the dynamic changes because of what we learn and as we go. So in the beginning, I only shared fitness and wellness things, and then as we've continued, it's more of a weekly diary of like, oh, wow, okay, we're unschooling and world schooling and traveling and working on the way, and we've got 2 children and the chaos of it. And so it should just be all of us, right? And asking what the boys learned and just kind of sharing what we learn along the way.
Amen.
So it seems to get deeper and better. And last week I remember that I shared that, or maybe I didn't share, that the longer we do it, we kind of get better at it. And we're at day 173 today. So we're into the 6th month, and maybe we should talk about why we embarked on the adventure. I talk about it some, but we haven't done it together.
Okay.
You're totally on the spot, aren't you?
Oh, yes.
You love this part.
You start that out. Why did we start this adventure?
Well, I share weekly like why we started it. That I personally wanted to see more of the world, right? And I wanted to make sure the boys didn't grow up in a vacuum on either coast or in the middle of the country. That they understood that there is a world out there, and that people are just people, and that they're souls. They're not skin color, they're not hair color, they're not religions, they're not, whatever we think they are, they're not. They're just people. And food, water, shelter. That food, water, shelter, no matter where you go, you have to take care of those things. So as a family, the thing that I keep coming back to is life wherever you go. It sounds fancy, but you still need food, water, shelter. Kids have to go to bed, you got to do the laundry, you got to figure out where your food's coming from, and you need a place to stay. So for me as a mama, I wanted to make sure that they understood that in the world and got used to transition and change, and were capable of transitioning and changing and learning, instead of feeling like at the whim of everything and everything was hard. And I want them to feel capable and safe and know that there are systems and ways to do things. When you get somewhere, what's the first thing you do? How do you blend in a new place? How do you get somewhere? What if you can't read the language or understand it? What can you do? So it was really about growing them as people. Also, the homeschooling portion of it, we've homeschooled once before when they were tiny, and I'm a huge advocate for it, but in our lives as they were, I never understood how it was going to work as a schedule. I have a business that I love. We have a business that we've built that we love. We have other projects we want to do, and no matter what, we were going to be working. And I thought, well, this is kind of silly. The 2 most important little beings in our households, like we have 3 children together, but the littlest ones, like, they're the most important thing. Why is what we want most for them not a part of the equation? And strangely enough, when we talked about traveling, the schedule seemed to make more sense for that. So that was, like, for me, huge. Like, the only way we could figure out how to do it was to flee the country initially.
I think I wanted to travel. For sure, that sounded really exciting. And I've traveled a lot, but I wanted to travel more. And I wanted to travel with my family. But I also was at a pivotal point in my career where I was trying to figure out what I was going to do next. Am I going to start another company? Am I going to go back to making art again? And I sort of had this sneaky, selfish moment of, wait a minute, we have an online business. I could travel the world and make art and do something really interesting and creative and take my kids with me, and it just sounded like a really neat formula. That's one part of it. The second part of it was a deep, profound, internal sort of stirring and concern with where we were going as a culture in the United States, with things like how we educate our children, health insurance, gun crime. And I'm not going to jump on any type of political sort of storyline here and rant, but a lot of those things were really concerning and challenging to me. And a part of me just wanted to, as a full-grown adult with children, go see other communities around the world and see how they lived and see how they were doing it. What do people live like in Spain? What do they live like in Puerto Rico? What do they live like in Hong Kong? What's daily life like? And as I said, I've traveled a good amount, so I had a sense of that. But actually taking your family and living there day to day, not just visiting, not taking a vacation, not staying in a hotel, not swimming in the swimming pool, but actually living there and doing the grocery shopping, talking to the people in the neighborhood, getting on the train, using the public transportation, seeing where people buy their groceries. In the case of Spain, seeing that people do go out on the street and have protests all the time, and it's a normal part of society there. All those little pieces were the pieces that I really wanted to see and experience. So that all added up to why not do it?
Well, and wonderfully, like, Mateo and I we always come at things at the same time, but we don't do it together, which sounds weird. But then we come together and go, oh, okay, we're going to agree to do this, and now we're going to try this. So, like, for me, it's this idea of grass is greener. We lived in LA, in New York, and in Austin, usually, well, always following your career by choice. And then we got to a place where we got to choose where we were, and feeling a sense of the grass is always greener. Because we've been on both coasts and in the center as the mother, I'm like, oh, well, I really miss this about this place. Oh, I really miss this about this place. Well, this place is just not. And then going, wait a minute. And there are genuine concerns as parents and people in the world, and no bandwagon here, just a household of a family trying to solve something, trying to live their best, happiest life, and not always be complaining, and not always wondering what if, and not always going, well, it must be better over there because we're not over there. And so going, well, let's go see. Like, now you gotta put your money where your mouth is. Like, now you get to go see, and you get to make choices. And also, pardon the language, because we do have an online business and that we do both work online, and we were capable of traveling and trying this for 12 months, I really just, and I'm the type A who doesn't want to go anywhere. Like, oh, I want my roots and my stuff. But wait, but I said too, I came back and went, we're kind of assholes if we don't try
But be honest and be, not that you're being dishonest, be fair. Like, I think a lot of people, or some people, perceive what we're doing as, oh yeah, if you make enough money online,
oh yeah, no, I talked about that.
You can just go do all these wonderful travel. No, we've assumed a tremendous amount of risk. We've assumed a tremendous amount of personal day-to-day insecurity that's just not there. We don't own the place we live in. Yeah. We're living out of a suitcase. Our cost of living is essentially the same, and the price we pay for that is, as I said, not having our things around us, having to find new places to buy groceries. All of that comes with a price tag. Not a financial price tag, but an emotional price tag. You don't have the same security and level of calm that you do if you're in the same place. And that's the trade-off. It's not we're living in the lap of luxury traveling around the world. This is so easy and great and wonderful. Woohoo, the checks just show up.
It's kind of the opposite.
It's kind of the opposite, frankly. But the idea was to have an adventure. And the adventure for me, and I think in part for you too, was to see, as I said, how are other people living out there? Because I think you and I both have a fundamental sense that something is off in humanity. And not that the whole world's falling apart and everything's terrible, but humanity is on the verge of something better, something greater, something more unified. And I needed, I'll speak for myself certainly, as someone moving out of my tech career and moving back into my art career, which is a very challenging, very at times frightening thing to do at my age, I needed to see what was out there and sort of couch my work in that sort of reference point.
So these videos that I've been doing, because we do kind of like, he does his own thing, I do my thing, we're not all up in each other's business all the time, and now we're trying to blend, like, instead of pass the baton, because I think it only lends to it. Like, you see me, you see the boys, but I have talked about it, like, we're not vacationing as we go, and in fact it's quite the opposite of that, and a little confusing sometimes. And we've been to Spain, spent a little tiny trip in France and San Juan, and now we're back in New York. And so this transition, I talked about it in one of the videos, it's been a little confusing because we lived here before. So, like, yes, it's all this like weaving, and then everybody goes, what are they doing? And that we just agreed to embark on this adventure, like you said, like, let's go explore for 12 months. We agreed as a family. The children were brought into it and asked for their opinions. We constantly are checking in with them to go, what do you feel now? Like if it's not working, we reevaluate and go. But we're at the 6-month mark. It's 173, what did I say, days?
Yeah.
And so I just felt like I think we're hitting a better spot with the homeschooling and unschooling of understanding a little bit more. It takes time to figure out what you're doing and really see the benefit and the beauty of it. And then each week, this is for the boys too, to kind of chronicle it for them that they can go back to, and it is the tech age. And like we've tried, tangible scrapbooks, and that's kind of hard to haul around.
So that brings up the question, and this is going to be a very long video, my apologies. That brings up the question, why are we doing these videos? So why are we doing these videos? We're doing these videos not to self-indulge and just put, gee, look, our lives are so fascinating, we have to put them on social media. No. The reason that we're putting them out there is I often think of myself, if I had seen someone go out and try and travel around the world and take their kids, I would have loved to sort of tap into what was that experience like for them. It might have given me the courage to do it, although obviously we didn't need it, but...
Well, it took us 10 years to pull the trigger on it. It did. We talked about for a long time.
It did, and I just think it also is a very genuine exploration that I think if we share it and more people share what they're going through, that it is better for the world. That it is a little gift to the world. It is, here's our story, here's what we're trying to do, and we're trying to figure some stuff out, and maybe that'll add something of value to your life.
And I have talked about it in other videos, and again, this is kind of one of those where I almost feel like it's the first video of us really sharing the adventure, so it gets a little long and a little more explicative.
Because we're doing this for three years, not 1 year, 3 years.
We're only at the 6-month mark, but he's right. That when we packed up, I had this sense that we weren't going to need this stuff, if ever again, for a really long time. And that the sharing is genuine. Like, if there's one thing that Mateo and I are in alignment with, and what really always brought us together, is that people's stories are what make life. However that's shared, through painting, through dance, through movie, through books, through art, or through teaching, through politics, through...
that will literally be the basis of the work that I'm making in the future.
But it is what we do. Like, people are really important to us and to each other, and I think as a culture, we've lost a sense of community because we've gotten, we're capable of going anywhere and doing anything. But that's not the truth. Like, the beauty of the interwebs is that we can be with each other and go, oh, I feel like I know that person because I get to visit their stuff all the time. I feel that way about people. I know that my subscribers and members feel that way about me. I feel that way about them. I don't know them any less because it's online. So as friends, and as hoping to make more friends in the world, honestly, and to give people courage and support and motivation, and for me, I can only speak for myself, you want consistently, I want to be the person that I needed or that I feel like I need in the world, right? So us doing these videos is like, I wish I would have seen this. I personally was the one that was more scared about, like, how are you going to afford this? What does the budget look like? You must have this crazy amount of money to be able to do. No, when we sat down and put pen to paper, it was actually less when we're in certain places.
Yeah.
And if not exactly the same, because life is life wherever you go. You're still 4 people in a household. If you lived there and you had this income, you'd have to make it work. So
the challenge is being a minimalist. The challenge is going, I have to live out of a suitcase. The challenge is going, this is not my stuff. This is not my apartment. Yeah. And I have to make it home. That's what's really interesting. It's a psychological shift.
It's always a psychological.
Yeah.
It's the hardest. I teach fitness and wellness, and if people's brains aren't in it, their bodies aren't ever going to change. Life is no different. If your brain's not in it and you're not headed in the right direction, or you don't understand a situation or how to make your way out of a situation, it makes things much harder.
So I have learned personally more about myself in the last 6 months because of this experience, probably than I have in the last 6 years.
So, every week.
Okay.
So that's the goal,
segue.
Right?
Perfect.
Excellent segue. You must have done this before.
Yes.
Is that, what did we learn this week? And sometimes I ramble, and sometimes I rant, and sometimes it's very clear what I learned. So, what did we learn this week? Hold that thought. Milo and Sam?
Yeah.
Because they can't sit still for the intro part.
Which normally will not be that long.
But it's the first time that we're sharing
Maybe
it.
it will be.
And maybe it will always be.
Come on, you guys.
We'll just get better at attuning it and bringing it in. So, good job walking around the cables. Come here. Okay. Daddy, you want to go first?
Yeah.
Me. Oh, what did I learn this week? I learned a lot of things this week. I will keep it short, though.
You don't have to.
I learned this week that my children do very well with some very standard rote learning, and that they really like to have the comfort of maybe a workbook or an online app that they can sort of plug into and do some basic learning. That there's more to it than just going out and exploring. But what I also learned is that a lot of the exploring we're doing, especially with art, we go to museums all the time. I'm an artist, as I've said, so we love doing that. That a lot of the learning that happens, you don't really see it and you don't really realize it.
Yeah.
And it really is happening, and it's really important. So that's what I learned in terms of our family. In terms of me personally, things I learned this week, I learned that as much as I am deeply affected by politics and the politics of the world, that I tend to think more on a analytic and abstract level, and I need to honor that and understand that that has value and meaning and purpose in the world, and that I'm actually not an activist, although I am a very politically involved person, but I need to honor that I am more analytic and artistic, and that's where my mind works, and that's where I can contribute to the world. So I'm sort of going through that process in my head. That's it.
Did you learn anything about the world this week?
Oh, yeah, I learned some things about the world this week. What did I learn about the world this week? I learned...
What is the day today?
The day today? What do you mean?
Today's January 20th.
Oh, the day. Oh, yeah, today. The day today is January 20th.
Woo!
Yeah, I learned that I think the world, as our former president Barack Obama said in his last speech, this is not a period, it's a comma. And I believe that. I think this is a comma, this is a moment of pause, and I'm not going to be critical of anybody or any political views or any people. I'm just going to say that I think humanity is taking a little breather. Humanity is scared before its next evolution, and our job is to help everybody participate in that next evolution. I truly believe that about the world.
That was good. Okay, what did I learn this week? Can I go?
Yes, you may go.
Okay. Well, to piggyback on that, because it is January 20th, it is Inauguration Day. And again, no, like really, everybody is and totally accepting of different opinions and all of those things. But what did I learn about the world this week? Yeah, well, it's more of a conclusion. Well, that's what I learned, is that it's a conclusion of, every time span has a very difficult period. And personally, I haven't lived through a really, really difficult one personally, or what I consider to be difficult in a political spectrum or in the world. Like, I've always felt safe, even when things were going on. I felt like the unsafeness of the world was very, very distant. And I've never been this concerned for us as a culture because I have children. And so what I've learned is that, suck it up. People have lived through far worse things. And that every moment where I don't feel comfortable simply means, where I don't feel comfortable in the world means I need to speak up for what I think is the right thing. And that being quiet is not okay. I mean, that's what I try to teach the boys. Like, be a problem solver, not a problem maker. And if you're not helping to solve, you are part of the problem. And personally, for 38 years, I've probably been a part of the problem because I haven't been very active or very vocal. I have a lot of opinions, haven't done much about it. So it's a beautiful opportunity when I personally see things in the world that I don't agree with and I think are unfair and unloving and unempathetic, that I go, well, all right then, I need to go do something about it. So I learned about the world that it just presents beautiful lessons. And they're really hard, and that doesn't mean I'm like, go team all the time, just that it's an opportunity. What did I learn about this family? I learned the same thing, funny enough, and we didn't talk about it before, is that we've been really into the unschooling, world schooling part that doesn't have a lot of structure. You just let them be, you see what they're drawn to, let them play in the world. And I do believe that on a big level, but what I've really seen is that there is some of that structure that's very comforting, and that their brains go, that propel them forward. It doesn't stunt them. It gets them excited, and there's something fun about it, and like, yay for that. Like, so worksheets work in certain areas. Fantastic. There's nothing wrong with that. So trying to find that blend of the unschooling, world schooling bit and not having judgment on it. Because coming from it should be this way, so we're going to totally undo it, and then go, well, I don't want to do that because then that's this. And it's like, oh, forget it. I teach it in fitness and wellness. Now we got to live it in their education. Quit judging what you think it should be. Respond to what is and grow the best you can out of it. So it was really interesting because I had the exact same thing of like a little bit of just filling some things out and completing some things feels really good. I love to make a list. That's my worksheet every day.
I completely sympathize with the feeling, yeah.
So that was the world one, and myself was really in the same thing. That the world is a complicated place and it's messy, and I haven't personally lived through anything too complicated or messy. And now, in response to the world, I need to be more vocal about what I believe to be right and just and inclusive and loving and unifying, and to be positive. Like, good grief, there's so much of the other, like, let's go do it. Let's go make it better.
I like that. Amen.
Okay, who learned what?
Kid in the front row with his hand up.
This week I learned that when you I always thought learning was so boring. I was like, oh, I really don't want to do this worksheet. I already know this. I just learned this. But then once you actually start doing it, like if you just pick up this book and you're like, well, actually I haven't really read this. This looks really interesting. And you just start reading, you get wrapped into it, and you can't really stop. And like when you do like the Khan Academy that I did today, and you do math, I was just thinking, I was like, oh, this is gonna be boring. But I'm like, actually, this is kind of fun because I'm reviewing over all I learned. So I just learned that learning can actually be really enjoyable.
That's great.
That's a great one. Tammy, what did you learn this week?
Okay.
Well,
Can you think of anything?
I learned some things about you. I learned that we've always known that Milo really liked Greek mythology. And I realized how much you were learning about the actual myths and stories today. Because we were on the train and you were just talking my ear off, and then you got into a conversation with somebody else about them. And that you know a lot about Greek myths, which was cool. I thought that was neat. And I also know what you learned. You can read more than you think. Yes, you can. You can read more than you want anybody to know.
I want to be able to read more better than the whole world.
You do? That's a good goal. Okay. Anybody got anything else?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Should we invite Daddy back again?
Yeah,
We should.
every time.
I think so
Every
too.
time.
Okay, so this is Wenomadwehappy. There's a little blog, Wenomadwehappy.com, and we put these videos up there every week. We'll invite Daddy back again. And if you need any help with your fitness and your wellness, mattinkitchen.com. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.